Hey gang, welcome to Up the Middle. It's Yergz and the beginning of season 2. Doing a bunch of things here. Let me make sure that there we go. Making sure that I actually have a camera to look into and that I'm on a screen, all that cool shit. Season 2, speaking of cool shit, we've got a lot coming at you this coming fall for season 2. We're on the radio. We're on the radio right now as we record this episode, as we will be doing for every episode moving forward. That station is my own, Yergz Radio, also home to the Be Inspired podcast, Two Dads, and Outrage Overload are the total of 4 podcasts that you can catch reruns as we look to provide you with live programming. But Yergz Radio partnered with Live 365. That's 365 as numerals. Live365.com. Just search Yergz. You will get us. You can download their app, put that right on your phone, take us with you wherever you want. And as soon as we get in enough of a meeting and the planning and so on, with Jay Mongello, the amazing web developer that has done Yergz.com, we will be on Yergz.com. That is probably of the 1, 2, 3 websites I've had developed for any of my personal professional brands. That is probably, without question, the most robust site I've ever been a part of. That is, I could not be happier. And I'm not saying that just because I need him to do more work on it. I seriously, serious is in like the last breath of a heart attack. Serious when I say I'm very happy with Yergz.com, and you will be too. Check it out. Hang tight. Yergz Radio will be available on it. It's currently available via live365.com. Check that out. There's plenty of other internet radio available stations through Live 365. They do a great job. We'll be able to legally play music. It's royalties will be paid, will be licensed, whole 9 yards. All set. Yergz.com, Live 365, either one, Yergz Radio. Next up, the Doggy Traders will be back this fall as well. I'm not going to be doing market analysis anymore. I'm just not there with my own career as a trader. So I've always excelled in research. I've given you some amazing educational material, which will be continuing, as well as the inspiration. So that you'll be able to find on Doggy Traders, the YouTube channel. And the link to that is also available on, guess where? Yergz.com. Go to Yergz.com in the Yergz Group tab. All of my YouTube channels and other projects are available there. You can also find out about speaking engagements, Up the Middle. Everything is at Yergz.com, to include access to the Doggy Traders. Next up, if I'm not busy enough with the Doggy Traders, if I'm not busy enough with Up the Middle, if I'm not busy enough with Yergz Radio and Yergz.com and anything else, I've got a third podcast that I'm now co-hosting with someone with whom I have reconnected over the summer. Mrs. Stahl, as I've known her through my junior high years, was one of my English teachers. She was a guest on my friend Gary Williams' podcast and YouTube channel. See, it's right here, The Back Room Show, available on YouTube and Facebook. There we go. Get some of the glare. A back room is found in a corner pub, tavern, bar, whatever. It is, if it's a restaurant, it's additional dining room space, or could be the dining room. It is also a place where locals go to chat privately and quietly, away from TVs and sports events or whatever that's being broadcast throughout the bar area. It's also where friends go to chat. And Gary's show is just that. a place for friends to come and chat and make fun of each other, have a good time, just like they're in our case, Izzy's Tavern in Boyertown, which has a back room. And so his show, the Backroom Show and Backroom Network, which now has other shows on it. Good for, that's awesome. Good for Gary. Great job. I saw Jane when she was a guest on his show. And as her own show does, inspired me to reconnect. And her show is called Be Inspired, the letter B, Inspired podcast. Available Spotify, iHeart, Apple, wherever you're at, it's at. Check that out. What I love about her show is that it takes everyday people. She takes everyday people, does a great interview, does some really good research into them prior, and then is able to really bring out some inspiring points about that person for us to use as her audience community. Great job. I definitely recommend Jane's podcast, Be Inspired. She will be a co-host with me on my third podcast, as I alluded to, Both Sides Now. If you remember the Michael Fassbender portrayal of Steve Jobs in the movie by the same name, Steve Jobs, Both Sides Now was a conversation that he had with his daughter, Lisa, with a song that she kept playing in the Sony Walkman that she kept walking around with that inspired what we now know as the iPod, and now even available on the iPhone. Both Sides Now was a song about duality, two opinions, two realizations by a musician named Joni Mitchell. It is now also the title of our podcast with Jane and me. Mrs. Stahl, as I've known her, but now, she definitely prefers Jane in the adult world. We will be together discussing, conversing, debating. I think there's going to be very little that she and I disagree with, and that might bring out a little bit more of the liberal side of me. But I think there's also a conservative side that can contrast Jane very well and allow you to decide the level or direction you would want to take. That's coming later this fall, actually later this month. We're set to start recording. It's going to be audio only. We just kind of feel that's easier to get when you're editing video as well. You kind of, do a couple of takes because, you made a goofy look or whatever else. And, I'm here with video today and really don't give a shit. Not that I don't like the quality. It's just that, this is real and it's me. But Jane was of the opinion that we could just stick with video or just stick with audio. And that's what we're going to do. I'm happy with that because I'm going to be spearheading the recording and the editing and the launching. That will also be on Yergz.com. We'll probably do, like we had this artwork up. There it is, for today's episode for season 2. We'll probably record video with just the artwork and then put it on YouTube as well. That'll go on Talk TV 24. But again, nobody's faces, no bad makeup or hair days, anything like that. Just, there's plenty of things that you see, quote unquote, see on YouTube that is just artwork as the video. And we're going to be one of them. Also available, as I said, Spotify, iHeart, Apple, Amazon, the usual suspects. And of course, with a link to those on Yergz.com. So what's next? That's later this month, Jane and me, and we'll be off to it. Lastly is Kickstarter. We are in the process of raising some funds to advance Up the Middle, Yergz Radio, Yergz.com, so many different things. We're helping other podcasters with Yergz.com and Yergz Radio. We're helping other podcasters get the exposure they deserve. There are, in addition to Up the Middle, there are 3 other episodes playing on Yergz Radio right now. Jane's is one of them. Be Inspired is on there. Two Dads podcast, my friend Corey and his co-hosts Sam and Dan. I know that's three, but for every episode they have at least two dads, so that's where it comes from. And they talk about fatherhood. And I was a guest on that show already too. It was awesome. Great show. Definitely check that out. Find it on Yergz Radio and their own, of course, they're all over the place too. Lastly is Outrage Overload. This is so fitting for our brand. My friend David Beckmeyer, he is the host of Outrage Overload. He's sent us some recordings, some of his episodes as well. You'll be able to find them on Yergz Radio. And what's cool about his show, he discusses how gaslighting, anger, just too much excitement has affected us in society. And it's a great study. And I've been on it. What I'm trying to do it up the middle is downplay some of that anger and gaslighting somewhat and just give you fact. Maybe that's a little boring. But like I've said in plenty of times in season 1, some of these talking heads give you what you want. Daddy gives you what you need. Calm it down a little bit. So those other 3 podcasts, and we're adding some every week, are running in repeat on Yergz Radio until we get enough where we can do live programming. Speaking of which, every weeknight at 6 p.m., 6 to 6:30, is Yergz Today, where I will be live talking to you about things happening that day. And soon we'll be adding phone lines to the studio here, which will be awesome. Another update is the Boston Globe. We've spoken with them as recently as last week. The representative from the Globe could not be happier with what we're doing. And I really get the sense he can't say where we're at on the list for, ethical reasons. And I 100% support that. We'll find out soon enough. But I do believe we are on a short list to be partnered with the Boston Globe and what they call Globe Media, I think is the parent company, like our equivalent to the Yergz Group. So, welcome to season 2, gang. There'll be more episodes later this week. And thanks for joining us on Yergz Radio, Yergz.com, YouTube, right up the middle. We'll see you again.